first down. Fires wide. Juan Daniels, touchdown, Georgia.
This is your favorite receiver, Juan Daniels, and you're listening to the DGD podcast with my man, Robert Reynolds. Go Dawgs!
Happy Friday. Happy Friday, happy Friday, happy Friday. Juan, welcome to the show. As you can tell, if you're watching this, the pink out edition of the DGD podcast. As always, the NCDGD himself, Robert Reynolds, along with Mr. JD, Juan Daniels.
Wow.
What? So I obviously want to talk a little bit about this first before we get into anything Kentucky related here. Obviously, we're going to be previewing that game. But first, look, I want to give a shout out to Traley, right? If you don't know Traley, Keely's mom, going through breast cancer. Obviously, October is Breast Cancer Awareness, so I do want to give a shout-out to anyone going through that battle and their family members, because it's not an easy one, and we're all with you. Traley, Dog Nation is behind you 100%. But first, look, Juan, big game tomorrow. Didn't expect Kentucky to be 11th in the country, and really, so far this season, I haven't expected them to be I didn't expect Georgia to be game day 3 times. This is the 3rd time. What are your thoughts on that? It's what a crazy year.
Man, that's pretty cool. It says a lot about Georgia, and everything seems to be lining up right now for the Georgia Bulldogs. Kentucky, shout out to you. You picked Kentucky to be the 2nd in the East. I picked Florida. You picked Kentucky, so it's exactly what you were talking about preseason. But a good Kentucky team's coming into Athens, and you're a 21-point underdog. I see a lot of fight in the Wildcats today, so it'll be an interesting day.
No, I completely agree. Look, everybody wants to sleep on Kentucky, but what they fail to realize is just how physical they can be, right? Just how physical they can be, and it's not your old Kentucky team, right? You see Will Levis, right? The ability to expand the passing game, right? And that extends first downs, right? Extends drives, things like that, and really keeps points on the board. But one of the things that really played Kentucky on their offense, they have a very good offense, but they also have turnovers. It's insane how many turnovers they give up, and really that's testament right there to what you see in the stats. That's a huge problem, and I think Georgia is going to capitalize on that. They're going to force turnovers.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's what Georgia has done a great job of, is just turning the ball over. I was looking at an interesting right now just in the SEC. They've scored 107 points only.
Yeah, I think with Kentucky, their offense is legit, and really their defense is as well. While we're experiencing some technical difficulties here on one side, just while everything
giving up 23.
Oh, there we go. Sorry about that one. We had some technical difficulties, so I was filibustering just a little bit. Do you want to repeat what you were saying? That way, everything's good to go then. I think we're still having some technical difficulties.
So, again, I think football team.
Absolutely. I think with what really separates Kentucky this year is, like I said, 1, your passing game. 2, but they've had some great playmakers on the defensive side of the ball, especially in that front 7, right? Jacquez Jones comes to mind, leading tackler from Ole Miss last year, transfers to Kentucky, and really is their leading tackler now. Oxendine, although he's out for the season now, which is a huge loss for them on that defensive front. That was another key playmaker there. I think he went down in the LSU game, I believe it was. But look, I think Georgia is going to have to take advantage of that secondary. I think that's the weakness on that defense, along with depth, which, obviously I think depth is an issue for almost everybody, it seems like, except Georgia. But I think really Georgia's going to have to take advantage of the shots when they're there. I think they're going to be there. You just have to execute. And obviously all indicators for me are pointing towards Stetson again. I really think, obviously leading into the bye next week, give JT another week, unless it's a dire emergency, right? If we're down and we need something, we need a spark, maybe put him in. But I think you see Stetson Bennett again, obviously leading into the bye week, and then get JT one extra week, right? I think we all need a break. But, obviously going into Florida, I think JT, you see him roll out against Florida. Obviously talking about injuries, right? If we have to talk about needing a break, obviously, if you didn't hear it, it was kind of last night reported that Tyke Smith is out with an ACL. So his season is done. And, that poses a threat to the star position. Not starting, right? I think Brainy has shown a true emergence, right? I think he's really emerged as a star, like figuratively and literally there. But, you kind of see, I think you see maybe Javon Bullard. You could see him back there. And obviously now you have the pose of threat of, injuries along the safeties, right? Because, obviously you have Chris Smith, if he's able to play, you have Dan Jackson. But what happens, there, then you start to really kind of test that depth, right? Especially in the secondary. So hopefully Georgia can come out of at least Kentucky game healthy, head into the bye week and kind of lick their wounds a little bit.
Yeah. You're absolutely. I'm pretty excited. I mean, I think it's going to be an excellent game. I think for Kentucky, I think they're going to come out with the same enthusiasm as they did with Arkansas and as Arkansas did. But again, like to quote Mike Tyson, it's all fun and games until you get punched in the mouth. I think
I'm telling you, that is a statement that will never get old and can be about. It's more useful than a Swiss Army knife, right? Because it happens every situation in life. Obviously, I want to take a look at Kentucky, right? I think a lot of people still kind of disrespect Kentucky, and you get this media narrative that Georgia hasn't played nobody. But obviously leading up to Kentucky's handled business, right? They handled Florida. Won that game in Lexington. You handled LSU, right? Obviously, LSU is kind of a team right now. Obviously, completely down from where their typical standards are, but still, Kentucky goes up and just demolishes LSU, right? So, Kentucky, nobody expected them to be 6-0. I had them 5-1. This was prior to LSU stinking up the joint, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
But still, I think you have to give credit to Mark Stoops and development. These guys are ready to go. They're going to be physical. They're going to be well coached. That offense, as we are joined by Jon from Sports Talk SEC. Speaking of Kentucky, I want to get your thoughts on Kentucky and what challenges Kentucky poses to Georgia from an offensive standpoint.
I think Kentucky's offensive line could pose a challenge for them. Now, I look at Georgia's D line and everything, and it's legit. The biggest thing I look at, to be honest with you, is how will Kentucky handle the first 5 minutes of the game? Will they do like they did Arkansas, or will Kentucky let the moment get too big, like Arkansas did, and let it get out of hand? And that's my biggest thing. Like I'm not saying I think Kentucky's going to go in there and beat Georgia. I'm going to be realistic. I mean, because a lot of people are like, oh, they're going to go Georgia. I'm like, no, they're not. I mean, I'm going to be a realistic fan. But at the end of the day, do I think they can come in and be physical with Georgia? Yes. Do I think they can pull the upset? Well, in my heart, I think they can. But when you use some common sense about it, you want to say, well, hey, Georgia's got this on the defensive line. They got the great linebackers. That's the biggest staple point. And, they got the running backs, too. I mean, you can't not look at the offense, too. The offense is really good, too. But at the end of the day, just don't let the moment get too big, because it can get out of hand quick, especially in the first couple minutes. Because you've seen that with Arkansas. Like, they had penalty after penalty, and pretty much the game was over with. And, now, is that to say that Kentucky will do the same thing? No. You just don't know about a game how it will start out. The first 5 minutes will tell everything.
I completely agree with you. Well, Jon, first off, kind of threw you into the fire. Welcome to the party. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I was a little late, man. I had some things going on.
Nah, no worries, but obviously, like I said, welcome to the show. Obviously, John, we're here for breast cancer awareness, right? Where Georgia's expected to pink out Sanford Stadium, so the DGD podcast has to oblige a little bit and pink it out as well. But I do want to talk about your last point here with Arkansas, right? Sanford Stadium. It's not a noon kickoff; it's a 3:30. Rightfully so. The Arkansas game, even at a noon kickoff, was beyond electric. And we obviously saw that, Juan, the first two plays, just false start before they even got the snap off. And I think you're going to hear that even it's going to be even louder, in my opinion, against Kentucky. And one of the things about Kentucky's offense that you can come to realize is, crowd noise and things like that can kind of alter, how Kentucky's offense works. I think it's nice. I love the offense. I do. But it involves cadences and things like this. That audible, the decibel count right there can definitely impact, that offense, pre-snap. But obviously, look, you got to look at the offensive players here. I think Georgia has to take care of two players, and I'm gonna let you talk more about them in just a second, John. In my opinion, I think you have to contain Will Levis and get to him, get home. But I think you also have to watch out for Rodriguez, the running back, and Wandale Robinson. I think if you can contain those three players, Kentucky you basically eliminate Kentucky, in my opinion. Those three just mean that much to that offense. Is that safe to assume that, or, give me more insight there?
The thing about Will Levis that, a lot of people are homers. And I try not to be. Like this week, it's not necessarily the thing about. How to explain this? It's just I like to see Kentucky have a little bit more respect than what they've been getting. Is what I'm trying to go at, because Stoops has done a wonderful job. Now, saying that, do I think he's at the level talent gap as Georgia? No, he's not at that level. But in any game, you saw with Texas A&M last week. Any can be beat, especially on any given Saturday. But like we was going back with Wandale and them, losing Josh Ali hurt. Rodriguez is a good runner. The biggest thing with Levis, I think, that is going to be the biggest issue with him, he can't hold the ball too long Saturday, because if he holds the ball too long, Georgia's just going to eat that up. He's going to have to get rid of the ball. He's going to have to throw in some tight windows, because if you stand back there in the pocket and let Georgia have a free run at him, it's just not going to be a good day. And, and I even said yesterday, some of these outside runs, some of these jet sweeps, a lot of these plays you're not going to be able to run on Georgia because of how much speed they got, especially at linebacker, defensive end, and Jordan Davis. I mean, that kid was made in a lab, man. I don't know where they made that kid, but he's a monster. And but at the end of the day, you're going up against an NFL type line, man. And do I want to win? Yes. But at the end of the day, I just want to enjoy a good game. I just want to see a good game. I felt like I said earlier in the week, I felt like, if we was to get blowed out, that I felt like it would hurt a little bit, our pride a little bit, because, we're 6-0. We come into the game and we felt like, it takes a lot from it. But you got to look at this Georgia team. This Georgia team's legit. This Georgia team's got a lot of elite defenders on defense. They got some good running backs. They got a good wide receiver, and Ladd McConkey. Like, they're just not doing it to Kentucky. They're doing it to everybody else. And, that's what you got to look at when it comes to the big picture.
Absolutely. Juan, I want to let you talk a little bit here. Right, you've played against Kentucky, and I think when you played against Kentucky, you may have seen a little bit of a different team, right? Not your normal Kentucky, right? You played against the old Kentucky. What are your thoughts? Looking at those games against Kentucky compared to what you're seeing now, what are your main thoughts and takeaways? Are you what are you thinking about this? The evolution of Kentucky over time.
Well, I've always said, for as many years as I can remember, if Kentucky ever gets a legitimate quarterback, they're going to be tough. And defensively, I mean, even going back to when they had Mummy, I mean, they had a pretty decent defense. They just didn't have the offense to sustain good drives to give that defense any help. But just like Jon said, you're going to be able to tell within the first 5 minutes. And I don't know if you guys ever played that old Mike Tyson punch out. If you can survive that first 2 minutes with him swinging like that, and if you can dodge that, then you've got a chance. You've got a chance to beat him. So just like what happened with Texas A&M last week, we cannot, as Georgia, we cannot sit there and play around with Kentucky because they're fighters. I mean, what they did to LSU it's not easy. What they were able to do against Florida was not easy because these are, two SEC teams that have haunted Kentucky for years. And so they're starting to get over some humps. And that's all they needed was that type of confidence to go in there. This is a monumental game, right? It's a historic game because you've got two undefeated SEC teams that are fighting for the East title. And that's never happened in the history of the SEC where you have two teams that are undefeated fighting for one title. So at the end of the day, Kentucky doesn't have a whole lot to lose. And those are the teams that really, really can scare somebody because right now the success that they have, if they go in there, they lose to Georgia, nobody's going to be mad or upset. Like Jon may have, mentioned too, as a Kentucky fan, you're not going to be, but you want to win. And if they do win, boy, look out. Look out.
No, he's Juan is not wrong there. Obviously, Jon, we've talked offline a lot about this game leading up to it. And, I'm one of the people that you have to respect Kentucky because they're doing things that you're not used to seeing. Like we said, go in, bring Florida up to Lexington, handle them. And then you handle LSU. Now there's also been some close games, right? I think there's some calls for questioning, with some of the games that were played out, kind of coming out close, things like that. But you have to expect, if you're Georgia, you have to expect Kentucky to give give everything they've got for as long as they can go. Obviously, I don't expect it to be 4 quarters, right? I just don't think the depth and the talent might be there, but the depth is not. So I think, you're going to see a similar situation compared to Auburn where you got to ride the wave, survive that wave, and then I think Georgia handles it just because depth and talent takes over second half. But, I'm with you, Jon. I really want to see a competitive game, and I think that's what we're going to get. Just kind of see the spread. Georgia's covered a lot, right? Georgia's covered, I think, 5-1 so far on the season when it comes to betting. But look, Kentucky is a different team from Auburn. They're a different team from Arkansas. They're physical. They're going to try to instill the run game, which is, in my opinion, going to slow down the game. Right now, I think if Georgia can stop the run and force it to become, more of a passing style game, then I think you can see the score kind of get ran up a little bit. Kind of potential cover, whatever. We'll talk Brigade here and seeing what they're saying. Tripp also mentions Tim Couch. When Leach was there with Mummy, they were all throwing it all over the field. I want to say that was mid to late 90s, I think. Am I maybe wrong there?
I think he started in 96, maybe.
Yeah, 96 was Couch. I actually played against Couch.
I think it was 96.
Yeah, and we lost up in
Kentucky. Yeah, I believe it was 96 because
Go ahead, Juan.
Juan was a hell of an athlete too, though. Juan was a hell of an athlete too. There was many games that I went as a kid to watch Georgia play in Lexington. I remember one vividly. I believe he was on that team. Georgia won 34-30 when we blocked the field goal late in the game, or blocked the punt late in the game. I'm sorry.
1994.
Yeah, I was actually at that game. And Kentucky should have won that game. And Georgia, at the time, I don't think Georgia was the dominant team that they was now, but they was coming to their own. And back then, you had, I've always said it with kids today, and I've mostly referred to it in basketball. Back then, a lot of people meant like when you wear that jersey or you wear that uniform, it meant something to somebody. Now it's just about the accolades and the trophies. Not saying every player's like that. I'm just saying there's certain kids that all they care about is the accolades, the stats. Back then when Juan played it was just different. Everybody just played for the name on the jersey. And to me, that was my favorite time. I just love the 90s because I felt like, back then it meant something to some of them kids. And just to be able to play. And, I mean, I'm old school. So you're just – you don't have to deal with it because I'm old school when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, but
And we also,
and I remember playing against Tim in '96, and we actually, we actually went up to Kentucky and lost. And all I can remember on the plane ride home is hearing in the back of my head is "for a first down, Kentucky," and so it's just one of those things that you just kind of remember. But John, you're right. I mean, we just had a pride about ourselves, and just a pride about our teammates, and and I think a lot of it too is, once you get to social media and then guys start to kind of beat their chest a little bit, then it becomes more about them and what they can do versus, just kind of, be a teammate. And the best things I've ever heard is when Eric Zier got to Georgia, he had a quarterback battle with Greg Talley, and they asked him, "Hey, Greg, are you nervous about this?" He says, "I came here to be a Bulldog, not a quarterback." And I just thought that was a great thing. And just like John, that's just kind of lost these days. I wish we could get back to that.
Yeah, I think, kind of looking at what G Bama here, a Bama fan in the chat, he's saying that the fans were better in the 90s, the 20-year-olds were delusional. And to that point, I think you might, have some kind of recency, right? Georgia's kind of been, what we've been with Rick and everything. They don't remember the Goff and the Donnan eras, you know what I mean? So, you have those years, things like that. But also I think, kind of hearing this history right here, right? I think Georgia and Kentucky have, Kentucky's always looked at it as a basketball school, and I think Stoops is really changing that. I want to say, John, I think recently Kentucky held their pro day, and really it went unnoticed almost, in my opinion, because Kentucky's playing Georgia, they're undefeated. People were focused on football, and to me, I think that makes the SEC better.
I'll be honest with you. The Big Blue Madness is tonight. I did not know it was going on until yesterday. That's how much I've been enjoying football season. I didn't even know that college basketball was going on, because we're not used to this. We're not used to the 6-0s. We're not used to the being ranked 11th in the country. It's just it's unfamiliar territory especially for us, because like you said, we're a basketball school. We get the best of the best in basketball. Which we didn't have a really great year last year, but at the same time, Kentucky's still Kentucky basketball.
I mean, that's a fair point. I think with late night with North Carolina, Chapel Hill, right? The Tar Heels have basketball seasons coming up. Me being in North Carolina, Carolina Duke is huge, right? And both of those are tonight as well. So, honestly, you don't really think about it, right? I look at how Georgia's doing, which is a lot different than what Kentucky is doing. But I do want to talk about with Stoops there, right? Different mentality to Kentucky, right? I think you bring that physical, hard-nosed defense. And you've had several, you had looking at players, right, that's developed and turned into pretty good athletes in the NFL with Josh Allen, most notably, I think, in my opinion, being that linebacker several years ago, really good college athlete. I remember this kid was all over the place. But I do want to talk about, from, Juan, us talking Georgia here, John with Kentucky, the keys to victory for each team, right? Georgia's expected to win this game, but John, I want to ask you first, anything can happen. This is why you play the game, right? G Bama understands this, where I'm going with this. Anybody can beat anyone. And, not saying that it can happen. It may not, it probably won't, but there's always a possibility that anything can happen. So for Kentucky to win this game, what do they have to do?
You put me on the spot, because there's a lot of things that they have to do to win this game. The biggest thing with Kentucky, they have to get some semblance of a running game. I'm not saying 200 yards, 300 yards, because they're not going to get that. They have to at least run the ball in I don't know how to explain it. They have to run the ball in spurts. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They have to run the ball at times that it's open. And if they get a receiver open, like Auburn, like say last week with Auburn. Auburn had 2 or 3 plays where they throw the football to the guy, he scores a touchdown. Like they can't afford that to happen. Like, Kentucky can't drop passes, which I know what Georgia's going to do. I mean, I'm not a coach, but Georgia's going to focus all of their money on Wandale Robinson and play everybody else off. They're going to try to shut down Wandale. Is what they're going to try to do. And I feel like I don't know. I try to be realistic, but sometimes you want to be the homer comes out in you. But I just don't see any possibility to win this game Saturday or tomorrow. But if Kentucky wants to do something, they have to run the football. They have to at least make some plays on the run game, because if they can't run the football against Georgia and at least get some yardage, they're toast. And I know that's not what Kentucky fans want to hear, but that's just the facts of the matter. They're going to have to at least get maybe 100 yards maybe on the ground, and they're going to have to hit a big play or two, and they're going to have to do something that they're going to have to go beyond what their game plan is usually. Like, for instance, instead of maybe running the ball a little bit, maybe do some tight end work stuff, maybe flush the quarterback out and do some rollouts, because you're not going to do much on this Georgia defense with the speed that they got.
Juan, I want to turn it over to you. Obviously, I think, Jon brought up some good points. Kentucky's all about trying to establish a run game, which is one of Georgia's strengths here, and then that's stopping it. But I do think Chris Rodriguez can show some ability to create some positive plays. Juan, I want to turn it over to you now. What do you think Georgia has to do to win this game? And then I'll talk a little bit more about it.
They have to win first down on defense. When they're on defense, they have to win. Kentucky, if you look at it statistically so far this year, they've actually rushed for more yards than they do passing. So, like you said, they're going to try to establish the run. We have to win first down, and put them in the second, third, and long defensively. And we're going to have to step up. We lose Tyke Smith, so we're going to have to step up in the secondary. Levis can throw the ball. Those receivers can get open. So, look for Kentucky to, try to stretch the field with their guys and take some shots. With Stoops, he doesn't have anything to lose, so they're going to take their shots. Offensively, we just need to keep doing what we're doing. How to just dominate the line of scrimmage. It's just that Kentucky's they're down to defensive linemen. So that's going to help us huge. So, maybe just stick to running the ball, give our defense a break. Just try, run the ball, establish a pass. Whenever we need to throw it, we can just throw it. We need to, just take control of the game.
I like what you bring in. I might add on to this right here. And you've mentioned up to injuries and things like that. Obviously both teams are pretty banged up heading into this week, with several key injuries, right? Like I said, Oxendine being one of them for Kentucky's defensive line, which is why I was saying
the biggest one is McCall.
McCall, okay.
He's the biggest one because I felt like he could neutralize the offensive line a little bit.
Okay, so he's like kind of like a Jordan Davis-esque type.
Yeah, he's not as athletic, but he's able to penetrate in front of the line. He's nose guard, and he can penetrate a little bit. He's the biggest loss in my opinion. Now Oxendine played really good last week, but losing Bully kind of hurt us. I felt like if we had Bully this week, I think it would be a lot. I wouldn't say an easier game, but I would like my chances a little bit better.
Okay. I knew you lost. I didn't know the guys' names. I knew Oxendine. I forgot the other guy's name, so I should have remembered that. But ultimately, I think that leads to depth, and whoever has the most of it will win. Staying healthy is going to make a difference here too. Kentucky game last year, Georgia lost several players that game leading into the cocktail party, right? Jordan Davis was one that got hurt that game, just being an example there. So, I think Georgia has to stay healthy, right, because the bye week is next week, and that's going to be huge for us. But looking at the offense, I think Georgia needs to kind of have the same game plan as Auburn. And what I mean by that is, ride the wave and then take over, in the second half. I see it kind of being somewhat close, maybe a 14-17, maybe 3 or 10. I don't know. We'll talk more about that later. But I see it staying somewhat close. Georgia not scoring a ton of points. because the defense is stout, right? You have to respect Kentucky's defense. But I think Georgia has to execute on deep passes like you saw in Auburn. I think that's there. I expect you might be able to see Arian Smith back. Jermaine Burton, I think, will be back. So that speed is going to be on display. And I think Georgia has to take advantage of the secondary. I think the secondary, in my opinion, is Kentucky's weakest link on defense. With the injuries, you kind of have to reevaluate a little bit. But I still think you have to try to test that secondary, try to get deep on them. And I think whether it be Stetson or JT, I think Stetson. I think that can be done. But I also think you need to establish the run game as well. So if you can execute on offense and be efficient, ultimately I think you win the game. I can talk about defense, but I don't need to. Everybody understands. Just play your style of game on defense, and you'll win. But offense, you have to execute and sustain drives. And if you're able to do that, there's a chance that you may see it cover. Obviously depending on how well they execute. But I also want to transition over from that to score predictions. John, I'll let you go first. What do you think the score prediction is for the game Saturday?
I put it on my picks this week. I believe it'll be 34-10, Georgia. Now, do I think that it'll be close early on, like you said? I think it.
Sounds like you're having a little bit of technical difficulties as it comes through with some connection, perhaps. Juan, if it pops in,
early on, maybe till halftime. And I think Georgia just wore them down in the second half.
So it looks like I couldn't hear. It looked like some connection issues, John. We'll give it a second to see if it'll fix itself. Juan, I want to get your score prediction, and we'll hop back to John in just a second. Juan, I want to get your score prediction real fast. As we see in the brigade, Jay Shipes already calls 38-6. What are your thoughts on the score for Saturday?
I'll be honest. I think Kentucky will be able to move the ball on us. I think that they will get into the red zone a couple of times, but we're going to hold them out. So I'm going to go with 30. I'm going to go with 34-9.
34-9. Okay. John, we'll give it back to you, but I know, like I said, the first time it kind of broke in and out. I'll let you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Second shot at it.
Yeah,
we're good to hear you now, man. Go ahead and give us your score.
Okay. I think it'll be 34-10. I think it'll be close early. And then again, I wouldn't be shocked if this game was 17-3. Like just a low scoring game, because I feel like, I don't know how you see this. I feel like Kirby don't want to really make this a blowout because there's a lot of guys hurt. There's a lot of guys injured. I feel like he's going to play it conservative down the stretch. And I think I think he'll do like he did like Auburn last week. Just have the same game plan, do enough just on offense to get the win and get out there and get everybody healed up for the bye week. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like everybody thinks. Now, later in the game, it might be where Kentucky just wears down with the depth, but I just don't see it early on in the game because I believe both teams are going to come out physical. I believe you're going to see both teams punch each other in the mouth right off the bat, and that's what's going to interest me. Like, I'm a big hog molly. Like, I'm a big old guy, and I like watching the line go at each other, man. Like, I just like the pads popping, man, and I just think early on, you're going to see pads popping all over the place, and that's my favorite part of the game. Like I said earlier, though, 5 minutes into the game, you're going to see what Kentucky's really made of, if they can actually hang with Georgia for three and a half quarters.
I like it. So 38-10. Juan, you said I heard 9, but it was a 38-9.
No, 34-9. 34-9. Like I think that Kentucky will.
Mine 34-10.
So 34 points. So both of y'all are saying 34 points for Georgia. I'm looking at it this way. I think that Kentucky is going to keep it close for the first half, and Georgia starts to pull away in the second half. And I think Georgia's going to start wearing out the defensive line, the front seven, and just continue to evolve on our offensive line and keep pushing and establishing the run game. But I think Georgia's going to have to sustain drives. I'm not going 34 points. I think you see maybe a 30 to 9. I think 30 to 9 or 30-10. 30-10. The reason why I say that is in the second half, I think Kirby, knowing our injuries, things like that, and our depth concerns, obviously the bye is coming up next week. I think you see it try to establish the run. He knows what we've got on defense. You get ahead, get a comfortable two-score, three-score lead, and then try to just ride it out. In the past, I may be wrong.
Yeah.
It may be wrong, but I just think you maybe see a 30-10 game.
That's what I meant. I didn't mean conservative. You get what I mean? I didn't mean being conservative. I just meant when they get a lead, they're going to run the football. They're just going to play clock. I didn't necessarily mean being conservative.
But John, even to your point, even if he decides to be conservative, if you have a 17-3 victory over the number 11 team in the nation, they're 6-0. I see no problem with that. I don't think anybody in the nation is going to say, well, Georgia's not as good as they are. I mean, they beat a very, very tough Kentucky team, even if it's 17-3. That'll be something that Georgia and the Georgia fans will be just soaking up in, the fact that, hey, we beat a top tier team. And just like you said even earlier, John, I don't think people are giving Kentucky the respect that they deserve right now, because they deserve a lot more respect than what they're getting. And they are a top tier team. So again, look at Georgia.
Robert, that's the thing. Like, a lot of fans I talked to, UK fans, they said, well, I'm going to be upset if we lose Saturday. I said, but that's the thing, though. The season's not over. Like, you look at Kentucky's schedule down the stretch. They got games where they could go 11-1, possibly 10-2, and go to a New Year's Six bowl. Like, if you would have told me at the halfway point we'd be 6-1, say we lose tomorrow, 6-1 going into the bye week, I would have told you was crazy. Like, I'm just going to accept it and enjoy it, because people don't realize, like, some of these big bowls, like these New Year's Six bowls, that helps recruiting, that helps the program, and and that would be a big step for Stoops and the program in itself to get to a big bowl they haven't been in what, 50? They haven't been to the Sugar Bowl, I don't think, since 1950 when they played Oklahoma. And to get back to that, I mean, come on now. You're a Kentucky fan, you ain't never been there, it'd be like a national championship game. You know what I mean?
Look, as a Gator hater, do you understand, as a Georgia fan, how much it would pleasure me to see Kentucky make a New Year's Six bowl and Florida miss out? It'd be beautiful. I'm just going to leave it there.
Hey, and then talking to Kentucky fans, I just left Nashville for a meeting, and we had some Kentucky fans there. You guys travel. It doesn't matter where you guys go. They go have something at the Rose Bowl or something in California. Kentucky fans are very faithful. They travel, and it's not just for basketball. I mean, you see, your Kentucky fans that are going to the Las Vegas, or they'll go to all over the country to go watch their basketball. But they have that same type of love and same type of passion for their football team. So again, going in there, if they are going to go to a New Year's Six bowl, you can best believe Kentucky's going to have a great turnout for that.
Oh yeah, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Obviously, if you're watching this, stick around. Obviously, we're going to do comments and question Q&A.
Oh, speaking of,
go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Oh, I was just going to say, congratulations, Juan, on your son going to Stanford. Like,
thank you, man.
That's a big deal.
I appreciate that.
And I'm happy for him. I hope he does well there.
Thank you. He was actually, I think he was kind of in contact with Kentucky for a little bit. So I'm not really sure, where that was or where it, may have ended. But that would have been kind of cool to have an opportunity to go up there and watch a UK game at UK.
You can't go wrong with Stanford, though. That's a really good college, and it's a smart school too. And
yes, sir.
It's a really nice place. It's a beautiful stadium. My uncle actually he has season tickets there, and he said it's a beautiful place to watch football.
It is. We're going to
it's a great environment.
Yeah, we're going to the Stanford Notre Dame game Thanksgiving weekend, so we're pretty excited to go there and check it out.
I bet you're like a little kid, ain't you, man?
I am.
Before we wrap the
appreciate
show,
you, Robert,
guys,
for having me on, man.
hey, man, look, hey, before we wrap it up, I do want to give you an opportunity, man. Look, we talk a lot on Twitter here, but look, tell everybody where they can find you. I know you got a website as well, too, so I'll give you a chance to just let people know where they can find your work, man.
You can find me at SportsTalk_SEC, just at SportsTalk_SEC. I keep it simple for some of the older folks because my dad has a hard time with technology, and he does not know how to like type it in. And I'm like, Dad, you just got to type the letters in, man. And some people just have a struggle with trying to get on Twitter and social media.
Hey, look, I just want to before we
it's at SportsTalk_SEC. It's just something simple.
Yep. So before we get off there, I do want to say this show is sponsored by La Terrain Watches. Look, visit la-terrain.com and use code DGD at checkout to get 10% off of your purchase. Doesn't matter what you get 10% off of it. Look, obviously, the Brigade came out strong. When you're listening to it, make sure you like, subscribe, follow. If you're on YouTube, click the like button. It does a lot. It's free. It takes just a second. On that note, though, guys, looking forward to tomorrow. Probably Georgia's toughest game of the year, in my opinion. I called this earlier in the preseason. I think it's going to be the toughest game of the year. And we'll look forward to seeing how that game plays out. On that note, though, guys, I hope everybody has a great day. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
This is the DGD podcast. Go Dogs.
We are back. Juan, we didn't really get to the Brigade as much as we typically do, but I think with this game, there's a lot to cover. Kind of reading here some of these comments. I think we'll start off with the Green Soldier here. What he's talking about Arkansas. I don't think Monken's going to be conservative. Kind of to our point, he don't. Green Soldier doesn't think we're going to do that. Would have been that if we were going to see it. I kind of agree with that. Maybe Monken proves us wrong, and maybe just goes out there and just dominates, right? I mean, there's always that possibility because we just don't know what you're gonna get with Monken.
But they've shown signs. This is the first time in a very long time that Georgia's really just come out there and just stomped people out. And there is no, it's not about being conservative. And if you think about it, the more points that we score, the better opportunity that we're going to be able to get other guys in, the 2s and the 3s. So therefore, and I don't know if you haven't, obviously noticed, it wasn't a rebuilding thing. It was a reload. And, to sit there and say we would have known a lot about McConkey, in our preseason talk, I don't think we've mentioned him one time in our preseason talk. I don't think that we mentioned we didn't mention Brock Bowers, coming in and stepping up and doing what he was able to do. So, and then of course, we had a very, very young secondary, and they've stepped up. So they've had a lot of next man up, type situations. But a lot of that is, hey, let's run the score up. Let's get these guys some playing time. Where we're getting our second and third string guys versus first string guys of the other team, and they've really stepped up.
No, you can't speak that any better. I think, obviously talking in the preseason, things like that. I mentioned their names. I think that, just watching, Lab when he committed, looking at some of his tape, I think to me, what really stood out was his moves. But a lot of that I think was because I don't think we expected the kind of amount of injuries and guys not, playing, nearly as much. But also I think you look at, like you said, Bowers with his production, things like that. All these other factors, you start to see these guys, come from somewhat seemed like nowhere and be playmakers. And I think that's a testament to coaching, for one. I think you look at the mentality of each of those, the whole team, in my opinion. I think every guy on this team understands their role and they understand what they're doing it's elite. And I think they know that they had the blood in the water, right? I think you're going to see that mentality. I think you dominate, you handle business, right? We talked about this at UAB. Games like that, Vanderbilt was 62-0, right? Especially Arkansas. Nobody saw that shutout coming. Taking care of business, right? And, you look at every game has been meaningful, right? I think you have to look at it that way. The media can say what they want. Georgia has played everybody. If you look at ESPN's strength of record, Georgia's first. That tells me that we've played a good schedule. Prior to the season, I would have told you, I don't know about that. But things happen, right? Crazy season. I love what I'm seeing so far, but I do think we're going to get tested. I really do, because of injuries. Now, obviously, I look at it this way. We expect some guys back, but it just so happens the injury bug still will hit Georgia every year, it seems like, with Tyke. I look forward to seeing Tyke as well, but also I saw Brini. Brini steps out, right? Like it's a beautiful thing to see. And, with that, it kind of does suck because I think Tyke stays around next year. I really do.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. And with the, with the limited time that he's, had an opportunity to play, and I think he wants to be a part of this. And one of the things that, I was talking to, a guy that was a former defensive player, and he said the difference is about this defense is these guys all love each other. Not to say that they did not before, but this year it's just absolutely different and it's special. And you can tell. So again, I expect Georgia to go out there and have another dominating performance. And they're going to set the tone. And it's not just about setting the tone for Kentucky. It's basically like, listen, I don't care what your record is. I don't care what you're ranked. You're going to get beat down. Especially if you come to Athens, you're getting ready to get beat down. And Monken has that mentality. Kirby just kind of seems like he's letting the reins go, just kind of like Saban did with Lane Kiffin. And then all of a sudden you see Alabama just beating people down, and that is who Georgia is this year. I mean, it's one of those be afraid, be very afraid. I
love it. I absolutely love it. But also looking over here, I see Rudes. Hey, Rudes, shout out to Rudes. Brooks Austin, OGs, shout out there. Says, how about them, folks? Absolutely.
Going on, Brooks.
Look, Green Soldier throwing us stats, man. And we really need to take a look at these stats because I think they're meaningful. Green Soldier thinks Kentucky's tough, but their best contest, the Florida game, they went 1 for 9 on third down at home. To bring that up, right, I think Kentucky has to get in third and manageable. And kind of what John was talking about earlier, trying to establish a run game. I look at Georgia. Look, Georgia's not going to give up a ton of rushing. Depending on what they do, you could see, Rodriguez and Cavassier get some carries. I think you have to. It's going to be a long, long day for Kentucky.
I can see them. Their backs are going to get punished. And then, of course, once you stop the run, then, that they're going to be in passing situations. That pass rush, it's, most people try to have at least 2 point something seconds, to sit back and throw the ball. You're not getting that with Georgia. I mean, it's got to be almost a catch and throw as soon as you get the ball, because you don't have opportunities to go to your second and third read. It is first read. If he's not open, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And another stat I do want to look at, UGA allows just 27% of what another team's normal third down conversion rate is. So basically what that means, to translate it, we don't give up third down. Like on third downs, we stop it, and you see a lot of fourth downs, a lot of punts. And that's translated, and if you've watched the games, you know what I'm talking about. So, I look at that right there. I look at, being third down for Kentucky's offense having an issue. Will Levis can run. I think you have to respect it. I do not, he is not a Bo Nix when it comes to running, though. He's just not. Bo Nix was our fastest quarterback, in my opinion. Maybe Emory Jones. We'll talk about that later. I'm going to leave it there. But, you have to respect Levis. I've seen some plays, watching Brooks, his film studies, right? You look at what Levis can do if you give him just a little bit of time. He's got a great pocket awareness for him, you know what I mean? But Georgia just collapses the pocket, right? You have Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, collapse in the middle, and then running up, not collapsing the edges. So I think you could see Nolan Smith, Adam Anderson, those guys could have a field day just based off of, not having to worry about the mobility of like a Bo Nix. I think you could really see those guys not tee off, but I definitely think you could see them getting home. So sack-wise, I think you might want to predict or get ready for several sacks, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, it's going to happen. I mean, Jefferson found out very early, from Arkansas, he was like, oh, this is not like playing Texas A&M, or this is not like playing, these other teams that I'm used to having some time or where I can maneuver. It is your number of seconds that you have to make any type of decision is very, very limited, if that.
You're not wrong there. One thing Levis does well, and biggest threat of the Kentucky defense. Ooh. One thing Levis does well, Juan, you said this. You have to get to him, you have to get home. If you give him a little bit of time, he can get you. He can throw the ball very good. He's a very good pocket passer. Expand the ball, throw it very deep, and test our secondary. Right? I do think the receivers have to step up and make plays. But if you give him time, I think he can get you. That's the one thing I think Levis does well. And then the biggest threat of the Kentucky defense, I think, is their front seven. I think maybe their front seven now. Obviously losing those two guys we talked about is going to be huge. But I still think they're going to be physical. They're big. They're going to be a test for our offense and our offensive line more so than anything. But I think our offensive line steps up and handles business. Tina also says, go Cats. I just need them to show up. Yeah, I think you do see them show up. But I think Sanford, even pinked out, is going to be electric. I think you're going to see some false starts. I do. Obviously the shifts, right? The shifts that Georgia's defensive line does could play an impact. But I think just the actual volume inside the stadium is going to be a problem. Because of how their offense functions. I think it's going to hinder how they, the effectiveness of how they operate, really. So I think, being a home field advantage is huge this game for us. Yeah. I think it's going to make it or break it.
Yeah, that's going to be big. But again, going back to what Jon says, in the first 5 minutes, we're going to be able to tell the flow of the game, and it's going to be one of those situations where if Levis does, what he's been doing before. And one of the things too, when we're looking at what does he do well, he's a leader, and he is a very good leader. And of course, the team rallies around him. And everybody I talked to this past week about Kentucky basically just say that we've needed this leadership. We needed this guy as a quarterback, and we need this guy to get the ball, and spread the ball evenly. If Kentucky can survive the first 2, maybe 3 drives with at least maybe a first down or just kind of moving the ball, switching some field position, then we're just, then Georgia's going to just kind of have to respond. It's no different from, Tyson's usually used to just knocking people out. But as you start to go rounds and rounds and rounds with them, with him, then you just kind of, strategize a little bit. But, and also too, the answer, the biggest threat, for, the Kentucky defense is Stoops. I mean, all the Stoops brothers, if you think about it, going all the way back to Bob Stoops, when they won a national championship 13-2 over a pretty good Florida State team, they are big for defense. So they're going to go and they're going to try to stop the run. That's going to be the biggest thing that they're going to have to do. It's going to be challenging losing those 2 defensive linemen. But then, they're going to, come up there. They're going to try to focus on stopping the run. That's when we can hit them down the field with some big time plays.
I think you're going to see – I'd love to see Arian Smith have a breakout game, which I forgot to do our players of the game here. Maybe we can do this right here. Obviously, I'm looking at, depending on who comes back, right? We won't know. I think you look at the slot. I think that could be a mismatch. Burning deep. I think you're going to get somebody with speed, right? Maybe it's Ladd McConkey again. If Arian or Jermaine Burton comes, I think one of those guys are going to have a deep play, a touchdown. I think you're going to see a bomb for a touchdown again, just because I just don't think Kentucky can really cover that well. So obviously, if you do a play action, I think you're going to see Zeus on a play action. Maybe, I don't know about early, but I definitely think you catch him at maybe a turnover, right? I think it's the perfect chance to go deep or score a touchdown. But I would look at receiving core here. If I had to choose, probably Ladd. But if the guys that I expect are coming back, I think you see Jermaine Burton have a game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with my man Stetson Bennett. It's like
can't go wrong with the mailman. He delivers.
Going back to that old saying, big time players make big time plays in big time games. This is going to be his third big time game. That he's going to actually be playing in. But most of recent is going to be that Arkansas game where he had to step up. I mean, they're coming in there. They've got this buzz and the hype, and he stepped up and he played excellent. And then of course you've got Auburn. He played absolutely lights out against Auburn. And in this game right here, he's going to do the same thing. I mean, he's going to do the absolute same thing. He's going to go and he's going to control it. He's going to make those plays. Listen, he knows when to run. He knows when to pass. I hate to say it, he knows when to walk away. I mean, he's got that whole Kenny Rogers thing going on. But just like we have here, mailman, #mailman delivers. He delivers. He does an excellent job.
No, I completely agree with you. I think that's a good choice there. If I had to choose a defensive player of the game, though, I'm telling you, I think Nakobe Dean has a game against that offense. That offensive line is physical. They're good, but I just expect Nakobe to sit there, be able to run in and take care of business, get home, right? Like I said, I also think the edge rushers, I think that's going to be key too. But if I had to choose a defender, I think Nakobe Dean has himself a game.
Yeah, I'm going with Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis just applying that pressure. He's going to be huge in stopping the run, but also too just the pressure that he's actually going to put on Levis is going to be something that Kentucky's going to have a very, very difficult time dealing with.
I'll tell you who I'm ready to see against Kentucky. Not Jordan Davis, obviously Jordan Davis. Jalen Carter. I want to see if he gets in there and see what he can do. So far, he has proven to me to be exactly what I thought he would be, just a mauler, just manhandling guys. I just want to see if he can continue to grow. Obviously, once Jordan Davis leaves, things like that, and Devontae White leaves, I think that's Jalen's front for himself right there. I think he's going to be the alpha male on that line. And I want to see him grow, and I think you're going to see that this week. And who's to say Devontae Wyatt doesn't have a damn day? That's just crazy because you can literally pinpoint any player you want, and you could see the logic as to them having a good day and why. It's right. Crazy.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It'll be interesting. It's going to be fun.
Oh, absolutely. It looks like that's all the comments we have, guys. It's after 3:00, and I think that's a good time to wrap it up, Juan. I'm going to be ready, super excited to watch this game. Look, I'm sure most of Dog Nation is going to have a little bit of alcohol. It's just one of those games. So I expect it to be super loud. Look, if you're going to the game, wear your pink. Remember that. Be safe out there. Have a great time. Be loud. Make Kentucky have some problems there. I know players are listening. But anyways, look, thanks again, Juan, for coming on. Look, ready for next week, man. Talk about this game heading into the bye week. Much needed as well. Brigade showed up and you showed out again, man. Loving it. Absolutely loving it. But we're going to end it there. And look, I want everybody to have a great day, great weekend. We'll catch you next Thursday. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.